Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Voodoo 51292 and welcome to my official game review for the game Portal 2. Now, a couple of things before we start. First, they are cutting the grass outside right now, so I apologize for any extra background noise you'll hear during this. And secondly, no, I don't have the box, the physical copy to hold up like I normally do, because I actually lent the game out to my friend Dave to play because he wanted to play the game and didn't want to spend the money to purchase it. So this is the official review for Portal 2. Now, obviously this game was the follow-up to the very successful game Portal 1, which was released as part of the Orange Box in 2007 by Valve. And again, this was that was a game that was not expected to actually be as huge a hit as it was. People loved the concept of the game. They loved the quirky humor in the game. They loved all of the, little, what's the word I'm looking for? All the little novelties, I guess you could say, in the game, like the turrets and the companion cube, and people loved it. And Valve said, wow, we didn't realize that it was going to be that popular, and people kept pushing and pushing and pushing them to make more, to give more. They wanted a full game, and so Valve decided to go ahead and make the full-length game Portal 2, which, came out this year, 4 years after Portal 1, and is in fact a full retail release standalone. So, first of all, when I got the game, I was really excited. I had a lot of high expectations for the game when I played it, and I said, whoa, I got to slow down a second and, put myself back in view, because I got a little concerned, because the main problem is that when you're trying to make a game that follows a game that was such a smash hit like Portal 1, because of the novelties of the first game, and this happened with a few games, BioShock being one, when you try to make a game after, it's very difficult to try to recapture your audience, try to recapture that fire that that lightning in a bottle that you captured with the first release, because the reason those games, the first releases, were so popular is because they were brand new. The concepts were novel, especially in Portal. The gameplay, all the mechanics in the game were novel, and kind of the whole atmosphere was brand new, and people loved it because they hadn't played anything like it. So the challenge is now, how do we make a game to follow this game that will continue to enthrall the fans and things like that when they've seen this before. This isn't new stuff now, so we've got to come at it with a new angle and try to recapture them. So that's difficult to do, and I got a little bit concerned, but I said, you know what, I'm still excited. Let's play the game for ourselves and see what happens. And I'll tell you right off the bat, Valve was able successfully to do exactly what I just mentioned. They were successfully able to recapture the audience, to bring them into a completely new yet familiar experience, and to bring a sequel to us that was excellent and that was not rehashed material from the first game. It was great. So let's get into the specifics of the game and why I think Valve did an excellent job in successfully making a good sequel. First and foremost, let's talk about the length of the game. Alright. First of all, there's actually two campaigns. You've got your normal single-player campaign, just like in Portal 1, but you've also got a cooperative campaign that you can play with a friend locally on the same console, the same TV, or you can actually play online with someone. And if you got the PlayStation 3 version, you can actually go via Steam and play on your console with somebody who's on a PC or Mac, and you can cross-platform and play that way, which is really neat. The single-player campaign, it took me close to about 10 hours to beat it, extremely long. The co-op campaign was between 5.5 to 6 hours. So you're talking about anywhere from 14 to 16 hours of gameplay, somewhere like that with this game, depending on how fast you solve the puzzles. Now that's excellent for a game that's not an RPG, it's not an open world game, yet there's still a good 14 to 16 hours of content on the disc. That is excellent, and definitely makes people feel better about spending the $60 if they get a lot of gameplay out of it. So first and foremost, 16 hours of gameplay on one disc as compared to the first Portal, which was probably about 3.5 to 4 hours, period. So that's already a huge step up, almost 4 times the length in total of the first Portal. So that's great. But let's talk about the actual in-game mechanics and things like that, and how they were able to bring a successful sequel. First, we'll talk about the solo campaign. You were introduced to some new characters first and foremost. You've got your old characters from the first game, of course, and then you're introduced to a couple of new ones in Portal 2. The first is Wheatley. He's the first new character you meet, and if you've seen any of the promotional stuff for Portal 2, you know who Wheatley is. They really played him up big in promoting the game. He's basically a modified personality sphere, or personality core, and basically he's free-thinking, and he is like your companion, your buddy in the game, and he kind of travels around with you. Unlike the first game where you were by yourself, Wheatley is kind of a companion for you in the game, which is pretty neat. The other person you meet is Cave Johnson. Now, you don't actually meet him physically, but you meet him through audio recordings that he left. And Cave Johnson is actually the founder of Aperture Science, and he's actually a really funny character. I really enjoyed the character of Cave Johnson. And I'll talk to you more about where you actually meet Cave coming up. But he's a really funny character. He's got a bunch of pre-recorded messages that play, and he's pretty funny, and I like his humor. And I think they did a really good job introducing Cave Johnson into the mix. He's the guy, if you watch any of the Portal 2 trailers, like the trailers where they kind of make it look like promoting Aperture Science, like taking home the turret, the whole model of the turret, and stuff like that. He is the guy who voices those over, and he's a really funny character. So you've got new characters. Now let's talk about the new settings, because there's a bunch of different new settings in the game. Firstly, this game obviously takes place thousands of years after the first Portal, and you come to discover in the opening, scenes how that happens. But there is the main facility, the modern day Aperture facility, which is of course overgrown, overrun with vegetation and things, since it has aged thousands of years. But you also travel to some really interesting locations. You actually travel further down into the Aperture Science building, and you actually really, not literally, but figuratively travel back in time to the old days of Aperture Science. You actually visit the very old buildings and facilities of Aperture Science that they had way back in the past. There's no real exact date on them, but I would probably say like the early 1900s or somewhere around there, before Aperture got modern. So probably around like the early 1900s and maybe mid 1900s, things like that. You actually travel back to the old Aperture Science, and that's where you meet Cave Johnson. And unlike GLaDOS, he is the guy. There goes my dog. I think my mom forgot something. She did. She went to the grocery store and apparently forgot something because she is back within 5 minutes. But anyway, that's where you meet Cave Johnson, and hold on, what's that? Alright. The alarm was going off, wanted to make sure everything was cool. And he kind of, is your guide, your voiceover character in the older parts of Aperture. So the setting is really varied. It's not anything like the first game where it was test chamber, test chamber, test chamber, and then the game was split in two between the test chambers and then outside. You are constantly going back and forth in the test chambers, throughout the facility, into the older parts of the facility. So the setting of the game is really cool and unique, and you get to see a lot of different sides of Aperture Science. The game mechanics in this game, you've got your old basic mechanics from Portal 1. You've got like your momentum puzzles, your block and cube, they call it cube and button testing in the game. You're pretty much standard mechanics, but they introduced so many new mechanics in this game that you really never get bored with the mechanics. There's all kinds of different things. Let's see if I can remember. There's these things called hard light surfaces, which are basically light bridges in the game, and you can actually to redirect them with portals. You can redirect them to block the sensors of turrets. You can redirect them obviously to walk on and do all kinds of cool stuff. So there's hard light surfaces. There are these things, I forget what they're called, but they're like anti-gravity beams and things like that. You can also redirect those with portals. And and there's buttons sometimes to redirect the flow of them and things like that. So that's in the game. There are lasers in the game. In the first game you had those energy pellets. In this game you have actual lasers, and they introduce a new type of cube called the redirection cube that you can do just that. You redirect the laser with it. You can redirect the laser through portals and things like that, usually into a receptor, which triggers, something else, a platform moving down or something like that. So that's in there. A huge mechanic in the game that they really pumped up are the gels. And the gels, there's 3 types of gels. You've got your orange gel or propulsion gel, which basically makes you go fast. You run along it and it speeds you up. You've got repulsion gel, which is blue, which is extra bouncy. And there's also, I forget the name of the official name of the gel, but it's actually gel made from moon rocks, and it's actually a portal conductor. So if you put this gel somewhere, you can shoot a portal in the gel where you could not shoot a portal before. And of course you can redirect these gels using portals in really inventive ways. You have to, sometimes you gotta combine, you gotta make a strip of the fast gel and then have a bouncy gel at the end so you can run fast and then bounce up over something. Really unique concept with these gels. And unlike the first game, where you basically had all of your game mechanics and things, after the first quarter of gameplay, all these different mechanics are introduced to you slowly throughout the course of the game. So you're always encountering something new. The gameplay never gets old and boring. You've always got some new mechanic that's being introduced. They are combined in very interesting ways. Overall, the mechanics of this game is excellent. They really expanded on Portal 1's mechanics. They introduced all sorts of new things into the gameplay, and it's all very interesting and all comes together very well. And you can also combine these mechanics. Like sometimes you have to put gel on one of these hard light surfaces and bounce off of that, and it's really unique and interesting. It really challenges you to think. So the game mechanics are really good. The plot of Portal 2. Portal 1 didn't have really much of a plot because, it was made to be a single game that would really not have much of a sequel. But in this game, there is actually plot. They actually made a plot. You get to find out a lot of neat information, revealing information about the facility, about GLaDOS, about you as a character, and really the plot is pretty engrossing. And you get to learn, like I said, you get to learn all sorts of things about Aperture and the characters within it throughout the course of the game, and it's really pretty neat to actually have a plot in Portal and actually have interesting things revealed to you throughout the game, which I thought was really excellent. So basically, overall, the single-player campaign of Portal 2 is excellent. It really is top-notch, top-quality, excellent, and like I said, they found ways to, my dog's going nuts again, to bring the first game and really expand it, develop it, introduce new game mechanics, introduce new characters, and really a great overall gameplay experience that people who played Portal 1 will be able to come in and remember and say, oh yeah, this feels like Portal, but at the same time, it's different enough that we know that it's a progression of the story and that it's a different game, whereas people who did not play Portal 1 can still come in and play Portal 2 because you didn't miss a whole lot of plot in Portal 1 because there really wasn't any. People can come fresh into the series on Portal 2 and still love the game and have a great time playing it and understand everything that's going on perfectly. So really, I really don't have hardly any complaints at all about the campaign of Portal 2, about the single-player campaign. It's really excellent, and they really found a way to make a great sequel that doesn't just rehash the first game, but in fact adds a lot more to the first game, and really overall kind of makes it a better experience, which I thought was really cool. So let's talk about the co-op campaign now. The co-op campaign introduces, again, 2 new characters, Atlas and Peabody, 2 robots, part of the Cooperative Testing Initiative, which you'll learn about if you play the game. It actually has a plot to it as well. The plot of the co-op campaign directly follows the plot of the single-player campaign, so my suggestion is you play the single-player first, and then jump into the co-op campaign. If you play the co-op campaign first, it does not, in any way, shape, or form, ruin the plot of Portal 2 single-player campaign. It actually does not ruin it, but chronologically, it follows it. So that's important to note. But it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's between 5.5 and 6 hours, maybe longer, depending on how good you and your partner are. But Tyler and I had a lot of fun playing it. It's really cool to play this game with someone else. They do integrate all of the new mechanics and things from the single-player campaign into it. There's actually 5 subsets of tests, and as you go around into more subsets, it's basically introduces one subset might be focused on the hard light bridges, another one might be focused on the anti-gravity beams, another one's focused on the gels. So in each of these subsets, it's kind of focused around a mechanic, and I think this is a game that really lends itself to co-op gameplay, and I'm really glad that Valve was able to incorporate it into the Portal series, because I think it makes it really an even more enjoyable experience. And I mean, who doesn't like co-op game? Who doesn't like sitting there, playing a game with their friend, especially a game like Portal 2 that challenges you to think, and you are able to take advantage of one person's skills over another in different puzzles. Who can solve it, who thinks better critically in certain situations. So it's really a lot of fun, and Tyler and I had a blast doing it. So the co-op campaign is also exceptional, and it's just a really good addition to the Portal series. So overall, guys, I'm sitting here with my phone going off, and basically now it's time to give the game a rating. What do I think about the game overall? I mean, I've sat here, I told you that it's excellent, that I really don't have any mistakes with it. So what do I rate the game? Well, I really have a good mind right now to rate the game, to make this game the first ever game that I give a perfect rating to. I think it is really that good. But for a game to get a perfect rating with me, it has to be absolutely just that, perfect, flawless. Can't find any flaws. And there's one thing. It's very minor, but it is there, and therefore I can't give the game a perfect score, even though I'd like to. And that one little flaw is that there's really not much replayability value with the game. Once you've beaten the single-player campaign, the co-op campaign, it's pretty much it. You're really not going to want to play the game again, because you've already solved all the puzzles and done everything, and the gameplay doesn't change, the story doesn't change, you can't play it a different way. It's one game, and if you played it once, then you're pretty much done with it. And unfortunately, I know this game doesn't really give itself to replayability factor, but when games are $65 nowadays after tax, people would like to have a game that has some value to keep playing it over time, instead of playing it one time and then putting it on the shelf. So because of that, I can't give it a perfect score, but I'm going to give it very close. My rating for Portal 2 is a 9.8. I think the game is exceptional. I think they really did a great job of bringing a really good sequel to consoles. I think they really did a good job incorporating the co-op gameplay. I thought that was an excellent addition to the Portal series. They really did it well. And overall, in both those campaigns, really not a lot of flaws. It's not like some of these puzzles in some games where it's like, wow, it's a complete bullshit, solution that you never would have thought of, and it's all convoluted. If you think, as the box says, if you think with Portals, all of the solutions really, they make sense. They may not be easy or obvious at first, but once you figure out how to do them, they all actually do make sense in the end. And I was proud of myself. I played the whole both campaigns completely without cheating or looking up how to do any of them. There was one time I was very close in the single player campaign. I was stuck on one puzzle for literally an hour. I couldn't figure out what to do. I said, I'm going to go watch Darkside Phil and see how he did it. I'm sorry I have to bite the bullet. I was watching the video. He had not solved it yet. He was just walking around like I was, because it was a confusing puzzle. He didn't know what to do, and I looked at something and it dawned on me. So I immediately stopped the video before he ever revealed how to do it, hopped on my game, and tried what I had noticed on the video, and it worked. So that was the only time I even came close, and I still didn't actually cheat. I actually figured it out before he revealed how to solve the puzzle. So really good game, excellent game. I recommend everybody try it. If you have both consoles and you're not sure which one to get it for, get it for the PlayStation 3. If you get it for PlayStation 3, you get the Steam access. You also get a free code to download the game free for PC and Mac. So you really get 2 games in one with the game, which is excellent. And also, another thing, there is supposedly free DLC coming out, maybe in June, I think. But from what I heard, it's supposed to be coming out only on Steam. So if that's the case, I don't think that the Xbox 360 users can actually get the game, can get the DLC, because if it's only on Steam, only PS3 has access to the Steam. So get it for the PS3. Make sure you know that you will have access to that DLC, which, yes, will be free, because Valve is amazing and they release their DLCs for free. And so get the PS3 version if you have both consoles and are debating. Other than that, go pick this game up. If you want something that's different than all your generic other games that will actually challenge your mind, but at the same time is a lot of fun, if you don't want to be stuck being a couch potato and not thinking or anything, this game will make you think, but it's a lot of fun doing it. So Portal 2, excellent game, 9.8. Good job by Valve. This is textbook how you make a sequel, and they did it with grace. So go get Portal 2. Definitely a good game. Really 2 games in one with the single and co-op campaign, and an overall great game. Let me plug myself here before I sign off. Head over to my channel. I have my complete playthrough of the Portal 2 single-player campaign. I've also got my complete playthrough with my friend Tyler of the Portal 2 co-op campaign over on my channel now with live commentary. If you've played the game and you want to go see how I played it, go check that out. Or if you want to watch a little bit of it to get a taste of the game before you go and buy it, go check out all those videos. They're up, and people actually seem to really like my Portal 2 single-player campaign. I have a lot of views on almost every one of those videos. People have commented me at the end saying that they watched the whole thing, that they really enjoyed that. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. Just remember that I have all that stuff up. So thanks, guys. Hope this review was helpful to you. So happy portaling, and Portal 2, definitely a top contender for Game of the Year right now, with coming in with an astonishing 9.8 score. So that's it. That's my review of Portal 2. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to go check out everything else over on my channel, Voodoo 51292, and I'll see you guys in the future.